Good afternoon and welcome to the first LFG Live. These sessions are actually going to be live on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the unedited, just real me recordings are going to be available on our channel and our website if you're too busy to join me during your busy Friday. But I'm excited to be here. Each month, we'll cover one core business category. So, for example, this month is Foundations and Clarity, the foundations of your business. And then each week, we'll spend about 15 to 30 minutes covering different topics within that category. I do have the year mapped out for those of you who know me. Of course I do, but certainly should different topics come up, if there's something you really want to talk about or hear about, throw that in my chat, in an email, text message, whatever works for you, and I'll be glad to add that into our Friday meetings. Some weeks it'll just be me. Some weeks I'll pull some other specialists in or some guests or people I just think will be fun to talk to, whatever's fun for that week. But most importantly, we're looking forward to growing with you. So this week, as we talked about, we have Foundations and Clarity, and we're going to discuss why many businesses don't actually scale. So first up, I have my tea. Today's tea is a Magic Hour Aquarius, a golden monkey tip black tea that my wife Lauren got me for Christmas. So I'm ready. Let me know what you're drinking in the chat, tea, coffee, soda, whatever it might be. I always love a good suggestion on something to have for my Friday afternoon, but let's jump in. So to start off, as we said, most businesses don't necessarily fail to scale because they don't want to, or because they don't have ambition, or because they're not working their butts off to get it done. They fail because growth happens without building a structure first, right? So a lot of people think scaling means more revenue, right? That top line number keeps growing. We must be doing great. We must be scaling, or more people. We went from 15 employees to 30 to 100. Well, that's not necessarily scaling. That's just growing, right? The way you can kind of think about it, here in New Jersey, I live near the beach. Imagine building a house on the beach, and the house is there and it's ready to go and it's settled in, but then we put another floor on it. Then we add another room. Then we add a library, which is my favorite, with heavy books and all these things, right? Then we add another guest room, and we add a garage. What happens? We add more furniture in. What's going to keep happening, right? That house is going to sink right into the sand. There's no foundation. So growth is that. We're growing that big giant house, but we're not truly scaling unless we make sure that that foundation is built. Otherwise, we're just decorating a house that's sinking, right? And that's what the owners, that's what the CEOs, that's what the operators feel like when they continue to grow a business that doesn't have those great foundations built. I worked in the past with many companies over my career. And in one company, I did work with a CEO and leadership team that celebrated all the revenue. My original background comes from sales environment. That top line number is important to us. But behind the scenes, they were struggling, right? They couldn't seem to get their numbers together. That top line was celebrating. Every client was a new stress, though. You want to be in an environment where we say, hey, we're going to sign up 5 new clients this week, and everybody to be celebrating and saying, that's great. That's great. In this particular case, it almost came with a feeling of dread a little bit because the foundation wasn't there. Every overworked person knew they were simply going to be more overworked because we just added more people on, right? So every new hire, every new client was creating more chaos instead of reducing our chaos. So what we had to do there is make sure that the business had those solid foundations, which we'll talk about. And always remember, if the business needs you more, and I'm talking to the CEOs, the business owners, the frontline managers, if the business needs you more as it grows, you're not actually scaling. You're just getting a bigger company, right? We need something that has those foundations in place that you don't have to add more work to your agenda to be able to handle the scaling. So why do a lot of the businesses get stuck, right? Growth happens faster than that structure. The founders, the CEOs, again, the people who have created this business become that bottleneck. They become the decision-making bottleneck. They also become the ones that deal with every opportunity or every negative thing that comes across, right? And that's just making that CEO, that founder, more and more busy, right? The other factor in that is they become the human SOPs. How many of you just have your phone ringing or your text messages going off all day every time the team has a question? There's nowhere that they go for it except for you. Well, that's going to continue to bog down your day, right? And what I do hear sometimes when I work with teams on this is, well, it's been working. This is the way I've been doing it for 5 years. This is the way I've been doing it for 10 years. This is how we got to this growth as it is today. And that's fantastic. But in order to scale to the next level, we can't have that human SOP thing happen. And again, when I say scale, I don't necessarily mean scaling in how big your company is. It doesn't mean that if, let's say, you run one retail shop today, or one bookstore, or one whatever it may be today, that it means you want to grow to 5 bookstores. Scaling doesn't necessarily mean that. Scaling could mean just enhancing the services or the way you do business in the current size of the shop that you're in. Again, growth and scaling are not the same exact thing. So when we talk about scaling, remember these human SOPs, getting away from that, letting the founder being the decision-making bottleneck, all of those, that applies to just scaling the business that you're in today, even if you don't want to grow it as far as size comes. And remember that hiring oftentimes becomes what people try to use to fix the problem. So, hey, we're super busy, can't handle all the calls that are coming in, can't handle all the business. Let's just hire a bunch more people to put it in. Now, I am a people first leader. I will always tell you that hiring the right people, hiring better than your best, hiring amazing folks to work with you is what is going to make your business thrive. I am absolutely people first. However, you cannot just throw people at chaos and expect it to work, right? Think about it as a street that only has one traffic light, right? If there's a ton of traffic here and people aren't sure where to turn and who goes first and who goes second, but putting more cars on the road doesn't help that, right? We need to put a system in place, which would be, in this case, more traffic lights. Chaos is not a sign of being successful. Chaos is not a sign of, oh, we're so busy, it's chaotic, we must be doing a great job. It's a sign that we need to do something differently. We need to change something. We need to put some more systems and processes in place so we're not burning out those amazing people that we brought in. And let me take a sip of my amazing tea. So when we talk about chaos and we talk about people coming in and how to get out of that chaos besides just hiring, that is really good. We talk about not just hiring and building these systems in, we can think about what some people think when they think about scaling and what it actually means for them. So I've heard actually somebody I just worked with very recently, it was a very short-term consulting job, but it was, well, we just need more leads to come in. As long as we have more leads, that'll be fine. And I do agree that more leads coming in for business is absolutely going to help. But what if that lead comes in and there's nobody to answer the phone or the email or the text where that lead came in? What if we missed it? Well, you just probably paid for that lead. In a lot of cases, these are Google paid ads or Facebook or Meta paid ads. We can get you 100 leads, but if you're not answering them, they don't mean anything, right? And with those leads, if we don't have somewhere to track them, how do we measure our ROI? So we can't just say to scale, we just need more leads. You need the systems in place to be able to handle those leads, follow up, and make sure those clients are being taken care of. Another is we just need better people. You know, I've worked with companies in the past, again, that had amazing people, but they didn't have direction. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know what success and right looked like because the leadership didn't put the systems in place to help them get there. So yes, sometimes we do need to make hard decisions when it comes to the people on our teams, but we can't simply think that scaling means getting better people. We also have to make sure that we're putting the right systems in place. Otherwise, we'll be able to fix everything once we get to a certain amount of revenue. I talked about it a few minutes ago. That top line revenue that's important, of course, but that's going to be just a number you're chasing if we can't get all of the systems and things in place to be able to sustain that growth and make what we're doing in those growth phases repeatable, easily repeatable. And what I mean by that is if you're adding 10 clients on this week and you have an amazing system to get them on, well, you're going to use that same system for the next 10 and the next 10 until it becomes just so simple and easy to go through that process that you're never going to have that feeling of being overwhelmed because we have too many clients coming on board. And remembering again that chaos isn't normal. It's a diagnosis, right? It's something that we need to fix and work on. And that's where a lot of these process things come into play. Okay. I've also heard in some companies that I've worked with, I had one owner recently tell me, it was a client that I just had a consulting call with. I actually hadn't had the opportunity to work with yet. But something stuck out in my mind and he was very proud. He said, I haven't taken a day off in years. And I was like, wow, that sounds terrible. I mean, I'm a hard worker, but I really enjoy my time with my wife, my kids, or even just taking a day to go read a book or go out to lunch with friends. It's like, that actually sounds quite terrible. And the reason he was proud of it is because his business was successful, right? If he was working that hard and he wasn't making any money, that'd be different. He's like, I made a successful business because I haven't taken a day off in years. And that's what you have to do to get there. And my biggest takeaway for him was, I want to be able to give you some days off. You're being held captive by your business instead of being allowed to scale it. So if you're working 7 days a week today, you don't have more days. You're maxed out at 7. That's it. So it's going to be impossible to scale the business if this particular guy was the founder and CEO. You're not going to be able to scale at all if you are already at your max. And the only way the business can be successful is with you in it 100% of the time. And those are the conversations we're in today, that he's truly understanding and saying, wait, I can get free time and still scale my business and still be happy and still be involved in the business, but actually have some time away. So when I talk again about scaling business and what that looks like, there's a whole bunch of different methods that we use and a whole bunch of things that we can talk about that are truly customizable to every business and every business's needs. But it really comes down to three things. You'll see it repeated on my website. You'll see it repeated in my social media. And that is people, process equals profit. That's it. I'm, again, a people first. The employees have a responsibility, of course, to the business and clients to always make sure we're working hard and doing the right thing and communicating. But at the end of the day, it is my job as a leader in my business to make sure the employees are empowered, that I set clear roles for them, that I set clear expectations. I always tell them that I am here to give them every tool they need to be successful and remove every obstacle to their success. And at the end of the day, hold them accountable. Now, that word accountability is a cringe word for some people, and I know that. Some people hear accountability and they say, oh, that just means people are getting in trouble. Absolutely not. Accountability means that I believe in you. If I am holding you accountable, it's because I believe you can do the things that you are supposed to do and that you have committed to doing. If I didn't feel that you were going to be able to do something, I wouldn't even try to hold you accountable. We'd probably just move on, right? So accountability to me is, hey, business partner, you were committed to getting this project done for me, but we seem to be a day behind. Is there anything that I can do to help you get there? We want to get this done. Now, would I ask them of that if I didn't think they can do it? Absolutely not. When people hold me accountable, the same. I've been past due on a thing or two here or there that just kind of slipped my mind or I didn't get to in the time that I committed to. It happens to all of us. And when my partners or clients or even my family holds me accountable to that, I don't get upset with them because they believe in me and they believe in my ability to deliver a result to them. Second is process, and this is a huge one. Again, I could have a business with everybody who is best in class at what they do. If I am not giving them the tools and processes necessary to get their jobs done, I can't expect them to be able to operate at their full potential. When they don't understand how things are done too, going back to that human SOP component, if we have a true SOP, that also allows us to scale those amazing people, right? If I have a great person in a role and they're doing an amazing job, and I hire somebody else because we've grown the business and I need somebody else in that position. Well, if I don't have a clear SOP and a clear process in place, now we're going to have two different qualities of business. One person doing it their way, the other person doing it their own way. That's not how we want it done. We want to take the best practices and the feedback from the team, build those into some really amazing SOPs that can be documented, edited, feedback given on them, and easy to understand. That's a huge thing for me about SOPs. They have to be easy to understand, easy to find, and checked on often to make sure that they're still relevant and nothing is outdated. But with those processes and SOPs, there's also systems. I had a client recently that I was speaking to that was still doing things handwritten. It was a service-based business where clients come into their establishment, and they were still writing things down on an old school planner. And one, they thought a cost of something digital would be too much in their business, and they just thought it would be too complex. So what I worked with them on was implementing this very, very simplistic platform. It was $20 a month for this system, the scheduling system that was built for their particular industry. Certainly there was a $30 and a $50 version, but even the entry level one was only $20 a month. And when I showed her that, a little bit of a mind blown moment. Her employees were incredibly happy. And I got it all set up for her, which was something that she was a little nervous about, but completely changed her business for $20 a month. Alleviated so many of her pain points for $20 a month. So really making sure those processes are in place. And then the last is healthy profit margins. Now, when I talk about profit margins, and I think it's next month, we'll talk about P&Ls a little bit. When I talk about profit margin, it's not just the top line. Yes, that top line is what we chase. Again, as a salesperson at heart, that top line is what we are going after. Sales, sales, sales. We can fix the rest of it later kind of thing. I get that. But it has to be about profit, right? So if we're not looking at our P&L as regularly as possible, I mean, it has to be at least once a month once that true P&L is finalized. But I even, especially for certain size businesses, I believe in reporting throughout the month. That may not be 100% complete until the month closes out financially, but at least gives a guide. That way we're being proactive instead of reactive to anything that's a harm to having a true profit at the end of the month. So for example, we would look at ratio of labor to that top line. We would look at materials costs, all these different things, and see where we can make improvement to make sure that that bottom line, that net profit number, is healthy also. And with every business that I work with, we talk about kind of what that magic number looks like, and then look at all the other costs that are going into that business and see what we can help to get to that number. But again, people, process, profit, All three of those things have to exist in order to have a great business. So when we talk again about scaling and how can you identify what might be in your way of scaling your business, again, whether that be scaling number of establishments you want, or just scaling how you do business in your current shop, whether it be more clients, more services, or just a cleaner way of operating your business, here are some signs that you can look out for. Do you have to approve everything that happens in that business? Does every purchase, every client engagement or client escalation or bill to be paid or thing to be fixed, does everything have to go through you as a CEO or an owner of that business? I'm not saying you shouldn't be involved in a lot of stuff, but we might have to build in some thresholds. That way we're alleviating some of your time and empowering the leadership that you put in place to make decisions for your business. Another is, are you always putting out fires? We have to make sure that we have a leadership team that understands how to put out the fires for you. And again, I'm not proposing that you are left out of the loop, but they should be the people that are taking care of these things and maybe asking you for advisement or, at least letting you know about it after the fact. Totally agree with all that. But we should have teams that are putting out fires. When I referenced before, where growth felt heavy, right? Where we, every time new clients would come on, everyone would cringe a little bit because, oh my gosh, we're already overworked and our systems, just take so long to onboard these clients. When growth feels heavy and a burden versus a celebration, that's a problem. That's not scaling. When your best people are stretched thin, when you're at risk of losing absolutely amazing employees because they're just tired and beat up and they feel like they're just doing the bare minimum every day. I've been to that point early on in my career where I worked for an absolutely amazing company and we were scaling ridiculously. We grew into an amazing, large organization. But early on, as we were scaling, I was exhausted and I actually went to the owners and said, look, I'm working hard every single day. I'm working my butt off and I think I'm doing a good job. I want to be great. I don't have time to be great. I'm wearing so many hats and doing so many things. I don't have time to be great at what I do. And thankfully, because again, they were an amazing company to work with. They brought on additional layers of leadership to work with me. But yeah, I was stretched too thin to be great. And that's not what they brought me on for. Another big one is, are you able to step away from your business without freaking out? If you want to go away for that weekend, you want to go, I love camping with my kids. You want to go camping for a weekend? Or you want to go on a romantic weekend with your significant other? Does it cause anxiety? Now, look, every one of us is going to worry a tiny little bit about how our business is going to run when we step away. I get that. That's why we own our businesses. I'm talking about true anxiety. Does it really freak you out? Are you supposed to be paying attention to your kids, but you're really looking at your phone every 2 minutes to see what's going on? Are there any fires you have to put out? That's not going to be scaling, right? And when I talk about all these systems and things we put in place to allow scaling, one of the pieces of feedback I received was it feels very controlling, right? Now think about what I just said, checking your phone every 5 seconds. That's controlling. Putting proper processes in place is about freedom. It gives you freedom to empower your employees, to be able to step away from the business, to be able to work on your business, not in your business, right? If you are the one screwing in every screw that needs to be screwed in rather than working with the team on making sure that happens, you can't be scaling the business, growing the business, or increasing efficiencies or profitability in the business because you're too darn busy on the day-to-day stuff. So again, team, a few takeaways for this, and I really enjoyed this last almost 20 minutes together, and I look forward to seeing you guys every Friday. But a few things to take away from today's session. One, growth without structure creates chaos, not scale. Just creates a real busy environment of chaos, right? That's number one. Number two, hiring alone does not fix broken systems. You can't just dump a bunch of people in payroll on a problem and think it's going to be fixed without making sure the systems and processes are in place first. And then three, sustainable scale starts with people and processes. The revenue is important, but the revenue is just a number, right? The people and processes is what gets us to that number. So sustainable scale starts with people, processes to help us get to the revenue. All right. Well, that's all I have for this Friday. Thanks for joining me for our first LFG Live, first of many that we have for this year. I'm super excited about it. So to close out today, team, people first, process second, will lead you to profit. Finish your tea, take a breath, go lead with intention today, and I will see you next Friday at 1 p.m. Thanks, everyone.